Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Let's Chat Live, a show where we do weekly live interviews to connect you to the voices behind the shows and podcasts that you should listen to. I am your host, Bree, producer of Let's Chat and co-creator of Let's Chat Club, and this is my first solo interview today, so I'm really excited. And I've got a really special guest that we've been trying to get on like a long time. But Let's Chat Club is our online community to empower content creators and creatives to monetize their passion projects, whether it be podcast or whatever else makes you happy, and also making industry connections while doing that. We help build and strengthen their brand. We offer classes, networking opportunities, and we help with your content needs. So you can check us out at letschatpodcast.net. And today we have the awesome opportunity to sit down, I do, with Big Nick. He is a producer of Gag on this podcast, and he says he's funny. So let's find out if he's funny or not. Here he is.
What an intro.
Well, your Twitter profile is like you got a sense of humor. Like, what kind of humor do you have? Like, are you dry sense of humor? Like, you got jokes.
Oh.
Can I put you on the spot and be like, give me a joke so I can laugh?
Oh man, no, you cannot.
No. I thought you were born ready.
Shots fired. I could do my comedy set from like 3 years ago, but that bombed.
You still remember it?
I remember a couple jokes, only because it had to deal with college. It was a really weird thing.
Yeah. You did stand up comedy, or just
yeah?
Oh my god, that's cool.
Yeah, I did that for probably a year and a half, but it is a young man's game. Because I would go to an open mic on Sunday, stay out until like 11 p.m., come home, try and go to bed, wake up at 4 to be at work at 5. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Oh my gosh. That's worse than like regular job.
Yeah. Some people love it. My co-host, Danny D, does it on the regular. I just can't do it.
Is he like super younger than you are, or?
No, in fact, she's older, but she doesn't really have a job. Like she's a phone sex operator, so she can do it whenever. So she doesn't have to, like, I wake up to go to work before she even goes to bed that day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Damn. Setting your own schedule is awesome and a lot of work.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you do it in college or?
No, actually what happened was I was working for a job that was just super boring, and I wanted to get back into radio. And in Sacramento, it's a pretty big market. So I was like, what would make me more, presentable if I were to be on the radio? I was like, oh, let's take a comedy class, which, if anyone's listening and wants to take a comedy class, save your money, just go up and try jokes. Because all we did it for 3 days. It was just, what do you think is funny? And then we would talk about what's funny, and then we would just be like, maybe write this, maybe write that. And then they were like, go on stage and do it.
Oh my goodness. Did you have your little notepad with you, or is it just all in your brain?
Oh no, I needed I checked it every so often, to the point where the person that taught the class, when I was done, was actually like, maybe look at the audience a bit more instead of looking down at your notes.
Look at them in the eyeballs.
Yeah. I was like, no, can't do that.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So I feel like I started following you on Twitter a long time ago, and I always liked your tweets and stuff. And then I was like, oh my gosh, she does a podcast. I invited you to be on this show before I even knew you had a podcast.
Really? I'm that cool?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? In Sacramento. I was born in Sacramento.
Really? Where?
Yeah, Beale Air Force Base.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
No, Beale that's in the Bay. That's like close to Vacaville.
No.
Yeah,
because certificate's in Sacramento.
Yeah, because the Air Force Base up here was McClellan.
Huh. We have a whole bunch of family out there too. So we might go visit them one day. So I'm gonna stop by and be like, hey Nick, let's hang out.
You're gonna be like, I'm at Beale in Sacramento, and I'll be like, Beale's not in Sacramento.
You're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You've been here. You haven't even been here in a long time. You're crazy. You maybe do need to go to the hospital. Just kidding. But yeah, we've been following you for a while, and I think you're funny, and like I like how you like engage and connect with your like. Are they fans or like friends or what do you call people that follow you on Twitter?
The Twitterati. I don't know. I mean, I have some I'm sure you get random ones of like, I'll promote your podcast. I'll get you to top one on iTunes, and it's like I get random ones like that. Some of them I got from comedy, and then some are just from using the hashtag Podern Family.
Yeah, people are starting to snake on that, aren't they?
Yeah.
That sucks. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So so you have, how many co-hosts do you have for Gag on this podcast?
Oh, more than we need. I have, right now there's 3 co-hosts.
Yeah. Is there like one main host or?
It's actually me. So you downplayed me saying I'm just the producer. I'm the producer.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. How dare you? I host. I do the research for all the guests. I do all the promos, flyers, edit the video. I pretty much do everything. And the other co-hosts just come on and say they're a part of the podcast.
You know, there's always one that does all the work. It doesn't matter who you ask or what show you ask. They're always like one person does all the work and the other one just comes and like, looks pretty. Yeah, like sounds pretty.
And takes credit for all your work. And you're like, yep, that was me.
Oh my gosh. So you're the host and then you have different co-hosts that come on regularly or just like sporadically?
No, we have a set group of co-hosts. It originally started with me and 2 guys I met from the comedy class, Jerron and Rob. Rob is still part of it. Jerron, went off somewhere. And then Danny D is our female co-host. She just kept showing up, and she's part of the comedy crowd. And she just kept like pushing her way on to eventually I was like, let's put her on. And then we recently got Sharon, who's in the comedy scene, but he's also more into poetry, DJ, production, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can do. I mean, I can public. I can public speak, but I can't speak right now, obviously. I can do public speaking and I have no problem with that. But like when it comes to stand-up comedy, I feel like I would just freeze with anxiety. How do you handle that? Does it come naturally to you to just like talk to people and either it's on your podcast or out in person pre-COVID?
Surprisingly, no. I'm very much like an introverted type person. So me doing stand-up was definitely out of the norm.
Wow.
And what sucks is what a lot of people won't tell you is that open mics are basically you and 12 other comedians. And then once the comedians are done with their set, they leave. So, I mean, there were times I was doing my set to 2 people.
Oh, man. What do you even do? you just go on with your routine.
Yeah, you go up there and you just listen to crickets. What sucks is when I used to do comedy, I would know when the punchline came. So I would then say the punchline and then it would just be crickets. And I'm like, I guess that's not funny then.
I thought it was hilarious. You guys are terrible. Oh my gosh. That's funny. Did you have like any like pre-show rituals that you did? Or do you have any now when you start an episode?
No, now it's mainly just the one thing I like is cold starts when it comes to my podcast. And Zoom is kind of screwing that up now because before you could just press record and nobody knew it was being recorded. Now Zoom, everybody gets an alert saying you are now being recorded. But I really like the cold starts because it gets everybody just start talking and then they don't realize the podcast has already started. So it gets the guests a little bit more at ease.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Kind of like the Elvis Duran in the morning show where they chat and have fun and then they like get on into it.
Yeah.
That's a fun system to have.
Yeah. Some of our, because I have the, welcome to the gag on this podcast and all that stuff. But some episodes that we forget. I think one time, 30 minutes in, I was like, I guess I should do the intros.
Like, let me see what my name is. Let me tell you
Yeah.
so you can match it with the voice. Yeah. That's one of. Do you have any pet peeves for podcasting? One of mine is when people don't introduce themselves on a show, like because it's just audio, and I need to be able to put the voices with the names. And if they don't do that, I'm like, I'm already frustrated, and this is just just started.
I mean, I could see that. The thing that frustrates me, and I'm sure you know, because you're a producer too, is I had one guest come on and was driving their car, doing the podcast on their phone. You could hear like them put on their blinker. You could hear them yell at like drivers, and I was like, this is not going to work at all.
Oh my gosh. Why were they just reschedule it? And were you like cool about it, or did you stop it?
Oh no, I said this is not going to fly. And what's funny is especially recently, you can listen to me and I can't hold back and I can't fake it to where if there's bad audio, I'm just like, oh my God. And all my co-hosts are like, oh, Nick's going to lose it.
Oh my gosh, they know it's going to come.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm sure you know, I mean, doing production, like when you get somebody that you expect, especially this person was booked months in advance, so they had time.
Hey, Seaball. Right? You're like, if you have this much time, like, why can't you just, you know what you need? I'm sure you don't just like throw them rogue. You tell them what you need when you're going to, do the recording and everything.
Yeah, it's like you and I. We went back and forth to get a time, and how if I had started this while I was driving, like, yeah, so let's just do the podcast. And it's like, no, you knew the time, be ready.
Well, there's a lot to go that goes into podcasting. It's not just like record and like release it and upload it. Like there's editing, there's audio, sometimes there's video, there's intros, there's music, there's then promoting your show. Do you find that it's hard to promote yourself or your episode and not like sound so conceited? Like, or most people are worried about that, like trying to promote themselves. They're like, well, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but listen to my stuff.
No, I do. I feel in order to be a podcaster, you kind of got to sell your soul a little bit. Like you have to plug your episode. The one thing I will not do anymore is when someone asks for podcast recommendations on Twitter. I used to be like, do mine, listen to mine. And I've stopped that.
Yeah, they get so feisty and mad, but it's really them causing it because they're like, does anyone have any like podcast recommendations? But it's like, there's so many different kinds of podcasts out there. And then there's audio dramas. Like, what specifically do you want? And what are you interested in? And then maybe we can give you some suggestions.
Yeah. The best are the replies where they ask for it and then people reply and they're like, yeah, I didn't want you replying. And it's like, well, you asked for podcast recs. We're giving you recommendations. What's the issue here?
Yeah, I get so mad at those. So I always just pass them.
Same here. I've started muting when it comes up. I've started muting those, and I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I haven't muted. That's a smart idea. We'll do that. So you do everything for your show. Did you have podcasting experience before you started? Was Gag on This your first podcast?
Yes. I had some radio experience. I kind of lucked out because in the beginning, it was me, Rob, and this other guy, Jerron. He works for a radio station. So he knew about using Adobe Audition. He knew about operating a board and all that stuff. So he really helped me along the way of normalizing audio, all that jargon. Because without him, probably would be crappy audio.
Wow, that's a lot of work. That's awesome that you have all that, bonus.
Yeah, but now I ruin everybody else because when they start a podcast, I feel bad for doing this, but on the one hand, I also don't. One of my friends started a podcast and his audio was just crap, was just awful. And I listened to it and the first message I sent was, That was a good episode. By the way, your audio is a little, crappy. Why don't you do this, and this? Let me take it and I'll do this, and this with it. But it wasn't like that was the very first thing I said to him about his podcast was your audio is crappy.
It's hard to get past the audio and get to the content when like the audio is, bad.
Yeah, well, the thing, I guess not many people care about it, but maybe it's because you and I do the podcast that we're just like, we can tell if it's bad.
Yeah, you can hear if there's like fuzz or noise or someone's phone going off in the background. That's always really fun. Or or if it's raining and that's
yeah.
Oh my gosh. But you seem like you have a nice mic. Tell us about your setup a little bit of like the equipment that you use for the show.
So when we record live, I have a Behringer, or no, not a Behringer. I used to. I have a Mackie 6 or 12 channel board, just some standard $25 mics. So nothing really too special there. This bad boy, though, I used to voice track for radio stations, so I had to get a decent at-home mic. So this is a Yeti, a Blue Yeti. We got the sound dampener in the back, and then I got a big mic holder because this thing is heavy.
It looks heavy. It looks like a Thor's hammer.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Hold on. Wait.
Are you to choose it? Oh, look at that. That's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Heck of a setup there.
And it's reasonably priced. I think it was $120, and I've had this thing for 3 years.
Really? That looks like it would cost like $400 because of
so
much going on with it. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Let's see. So for someone that hasn't listened to your show yet, I mean, the name itself, Gag on This Podcast, I feel like they can kind of get the idea of what it's about, but if someone hasn't listened to your show yet, what can they expect?
So first of all, the name is the thing that I get the most heat about. I ran, and it was one of the. Have you seen Boogie Nights? So there's a scene in Boogie Nights where he's talking about it's about 70s pornography, but he's talking about how his name came to him, Dirk Diggler, and it was just Up in Lights, and he was like, "That's my name." For some reason, it was the same with Gag on This, and I did it also because, first of all, it grabs your attention. People are like, "Oh, what's this?" Or, "Oh, I'm super offended. I'll listen anyways," and get upset. But also, we interview comedians. We interview Sacramento comedians. We've had Bay Area comedians. We interviewed a couple New York comedians. We're hoping to get some British comedians on soon. And they tell jokes, aka gags. So comedians come on and gag on this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm intelligent. I have my moments.
Man, how do you do the booking? Do you just like pick people that you want to have on the show and then email them, or?
Yeah. Danny D, since she's big in the comedy here, she'll book people. Right now we have some openings. Sometimes I'll just find somebody on Twitter and say, "Hey, you're funny. Do you want to come on this podcast?" And I think up until June, we were booked since January.
Wow.
So January to June, we were all booked. Now we have a bunch of openings. So now I got to fill them. And I mean, I'm sure well, you had the experience with this podcast. You'll book somebody and then something happens. So then you're scrambling to find another guest at the last minute.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't really have backups. We're booked until like late July right now, I think. And if someone doesn't have an opportunity, we either get the producers on and just start chatting, having fun, and just having a conversation, or we just skip it and say, "Everyone go get some bourbon and go to bed." Whatever, go watch a movie or something. Like, go do something normal.
See, that's what we need to work on for our podcast, because we're so used to having guests that there's times where they don't show up and it's just us, and we don't really have much to talk about because we talk to ourselves all the time. There's been times, I don't know if you've done it, where they want to tell me a story and I'm like, no, save it for the podcast. Don't tell me. Just save it.
You've
never done
twice? That? No. I'm always like, okay, what's up? What is it? Is it funny?
Oh yeah, no. I'm like, save it for the podcast. This could be good content.
But what if they like completely forget, or maybe they say it on the show and it's like, wow, you really shouldn't have not said
Oh,
it.
we will roast them. And there's been times where I've said,
Fair.
"Oh, you wanted to talk about this? Let's talk about it." And they say, "Ah, it's no big deal, nothing." And I'm like, "You saved it for a week. Come on."
You got a question, man. Do you have any tips for writing stand-up style jokes?
Um, so how I created my set was I just picked something I thought was pretty funny, and what I did is I talked about it with just regular people, and they all seemed to find it funny. So I said, okay, let me focus on this. And there's a couple ways you can write. One way I do it is you write down the subject, and then you write down just things that pop into your head about the subject. And then with each of those little subject things, you then write something else about it, because the very first sort of level is what everyone's going to get. And you want to go for that second level that not many people are going to get. Especially
Aw.
because I'm a big fan of deep cuts, like deep references. So sometimes I'll make a deep cut that nobody gets, but only one person gets it. And I'm like, you know what? That was worth it. That cut was worth it.
That guy laughing in the back.
Yeah.
Get you. You get me.
Like when you make a brave little toaster joke and nobody gets it, but one person is belly laughing. I'm like, all right, that guy gets it.
That would probably be me. What kind of humor do you have? Like sense of humor? Like is it
Um,
dry or is it? What kind of
uh,
other humors are there?
I think what's funny is I've been told when I discuss something in a dry manner, it's funny. I don't. That's I don't mean to. That's just I guess how I come across is very dry. But I also like humor that sort of pushes the envelope. I'm definitely not big into this whole cancel culture, thing going on.
Mm, yeah. Who's your favorite comedian? Do you have one? You can do
My
top two, so we don't hurt anyone's feelings.
Oh, you want local, like local comedian, or do you want like overall?
Both, one of each. Wait, all
Um,
right, we can just do overall.
Overall, I'd have to say Big J Okerson. That guy consistent makes me laugh, and he's a very big, deep cut reference guy. Was that your cat meowing in the background?
Well, it wasn't me. Okay. Did I just, no, yeah, it's my cat. I'm sorry. He just wants to meet you because he thinks you're funny. Um,
Before we move on, Chad, I saw your thing. Brave Little Toaster does rock. It's I was always a fan of the blanket.
okay. I like dark humor. It's really funny. Makes you think, and that's messed up,
I've
right?
I've done that. I have said things and I thought it was funny, and then right after I was like, "Ooh, that's the one that's going to give me a ticket to hell." Right then.
Someone's gonna be waiting for me after the show just to like
Yeah.
just to yell at me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, so are there with like comedy and like people coming on, do you have any subjects or topics that are completely off limits that you don't want to talk about on the shows, or are you just open for anything?
Um, I try not to get serious. Um, you know, like whenever politics is mentioned, if the guest brings it up, I'll let them go for it for a time. But I'm just not. That's not our, I guess, audience that we usually get. Like people want to, be funny. If they can make it into a joke, that's good. But I'm also not big into um, when people go crazy on conspiracy theories. Um, so as long as if it gets a laugh, we'll talk about it, but nothing ultra serious, especially because the way the country's so divided, I don't want someone's political opinion to then dissuade this person from listening to otherwise good content.
Yeah, that's smart just to stay away from that. We had a couple people wanting to be on Let's Chat Live, but it kind of clashed with our views about what their show was about, and so we wished them peace and good luck. But we're just it's not for us. Maybe for someone else. Absolutely, go on, spread your words.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of because I have friends that are conservative, I have friends that are Democrats, so I'm a big fan of political discourse, like having a general discussion about it and walking away still friends is fine. It's just today, it just seems that nobody can really do that, and it sucks.
That's true. Get out of hand, and we're just here for a good time.
This guy is my new greatest. I love him.
We love you. You're like, can you just look us up on Twitter? This is right down here. Friend us and be like our best friend, please. That's why we joined Twitter to begin with.
Yeah, we're all just seeking to be filled, through friendships.
Yeah, and conversation and good laughs, just they're laughing. So seriously, that's how like I started Twitter. I just had like a couple followers, and then like yeah. And then I met Chris Revel, and then now we have this show, and I get to chat with like all these awesome people in the podcast community. I don't know about you, but like I found them to be so welcoming and fun and helpful, and just the coolest group of people that I just want to meet all of them at some kind of really awesome convention or something.
No, they're amazing. In fact, we just finished up a month of just all podcasts, and the cool thing with the Podern family is you're right. We're all supportive. We all want everyone to succeed. We're willing to give advice. It's not this petty, like, I want my podcast better than yours, so I'm not going to tell you how to edit. It's nothing like that. And when we had this whole month of podcasters, I was shocked to find people that have a serious podcast can be freaking hilarious.
Aw, they probably want a break from this, from all the seriousness.
But then it also put into perspective how little I'm doing for my podcast as far as editing and stuff. Because we had people that are on Twitch. I have no idea. Like this live on YouTube, I have no idea how that works.
You sometimes you find something that you like, that you're comfortable with, that doesn't cause you like extra couple hours of work, and you stick with it. So you're obviously doing a good job. You have a good following on Twitter, and I'm sure your downloads are fantastic. So,
but as most, they could be better, as most people will say.
Yeah, everything could be better. I feel like there's like waves of like when there's viewers or not. I heard that a lot of people are having a drop in like downloads this weekend. I'm like, well, it's a holiday. Maybe they're like traveling or something.
And I think when people will go back to work, you'll see a lot more, because we had a big dip once COVID happened because people are working from home, so they're not commuting. Like when I go to the office now, I put on a podcast because it's about 45 minutes there and back. But at home, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, some people leave shows on like when they're at home and working and stuff, but I can't do it. So I have to like intentionally want to listen to a podcast, or if I'm like doing yoga or whatever, it's helpful. Except for the funny podcast, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm laughing and I'm like trying to like stretch at the same time. I'm just gonna pull something and break myself. But this is true. Like some people give up on their viewers, or you feel like you're not getting enough views, and like then people get to like hear your backlog and hear what you have, and the viewers you do have, you can't just abandon them and stop doing your shows because like one or two people stop listening. So It's nice to have like your posse that just listens to every show of yours, and like your little groupies, your little, what did you call them? Nomads? What is it?
Nomads.
No, nomads. Twitter followers. Twitterati.
Yeah.
And you're putting in a bunch of work. I was going to say a crud ton of work, but I stopped myself. Thank you. I don't want myself to yell at myself. How do you find time to do all of this?
Oh.
It's not just, I mean, it's all of it. It's not just like tweeting every once in a while. It's recording. It's like getting everything together and then promoting it, and then audio editing and stuff. Like, how?
So, I mean, I pretty much have a set schedule. We record Tuesdays, put the episode on YouTube Saturday, and then release it as a podcast on Monday just to push people to YouTube. But Friday is usually when I edit everything. And then I post it. Over the weekend is when I create the promo flyer. I'll email the guest to remind them, get the Zoom link going, and then I'll schedule. The cool thing with Twitter and Facebook is you can schedule. So I'll schedule I'll schedule it to be released Tuesday to post Tuesday, because Monday is when the podcast posts, and then just start it all over again.
Yeah, Melissa, you're like the coolest person. You're like Glinda. Glinda's like our ultimate fan, and she's always there to listen and contact us. You are the man. Yes, you got some pretty good time management skills, and you're not going crazy either. So you have like a regular life behind this podcast.
Yeah, I work full time. I try and go out golf. Well, at least hit a bucket of balls every now and then. Now that everything's opening, I'm definitely going to go do more stuff.
Yeah, right. Everything's opening. You're so sweet. Look at you. You are. Everything's opening. So you do like golfing. That's pretty socially distanced, right? Were you able to do that during COVID?
No.
No.
My wife is, she's high risk, so I didn't want to even take the chance. We went out for, bare essentials.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're both vaccinated, so we're hoping to go back out there.
Me too. How'd you react to the shots?
Oh, the same way you did. Second shot, it killed my arm, and then it was like 3 days after I felt bad. I felt sick, and then so I took off work for that day, half of that day. The next day I started to feel better, and then it was gone.
Wow. Do you still taste metal, or is that just gone?
Yeah, that was who was it? Somebody was telling me that, and I was like, no, that didn't happen at all.
I can like taste and smell metal, and like it's weird.
Like still?
Every once in a while. Yeah, I can like smell it and taste it. It's just like cool and gross. And yeah, I got real sick. It was so embarrassing. We went to get my second shot, and my husband's like, yeah, you're going to be fine. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't do so well in the first one. This one's worse, right? And then I was like, I feel a little bit dizzy. And they like guided me into this like little room. And I just started throwing up in the trash can. I'm like, don't tell anybody. Like, we can never come back to this CVS because I can't face these people. They've seen too much.
At least you made it to the, waste bin.
Yeah. That was right. Like I just would have ran out if I didn't.
And there would have been a trail of vomit following you all the way out. So that would have been more embarrassing.
Right? So thank goodness for trash cans. Have them everywhere. Know your exits and know your trash can. Just kidding. One of my favorite comedians is Brian Regan. I've seen him like 3 times in Virginia. And I think he's hilarious. He doesn't cuss or anything. And I mean, not that cussing's bad. Like, it's fine. You can make it funny with like language or whatever. But he's just so authentic, and his body movement really encourages like how funny things are too when he's telling a story. Do you feel like you're very what is the word? Like, you use your hands a lot when you do jokes? Outwardly funny too. Is that the word?
No. I also haven't been up doing stand-up for, I want to say like a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. I wanted to get back into it, and then COVID hit, and then since then I'm just like, I don't know if it's my bag.
Yeah.
But I found myself, the one thing that people told me I did is I would rock back and forth when I'm telling a joke. I don't know why. Really? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's like just a nervous thing or a comfort thing, but yeah, I would rock back and forth while holding the mic.
You're not a big talker with your hands when you talk with everything?
No. No, my wife is though. She's Portuguese. Portuguese, so they use their hands, yeah.
Hispanic, maybe that's what it is. I wear flip-flops too, just in case someone gets out of line. I just take it off and I
Oh my god, so does she. She'll wear flip-flops when it's raining.
Yeah, you don't make us mad. We'll throw shoes at you. That's what we'll do. And sometimes, have you seen the movie Coco?
Yeah.
With whenever I'm like, I love feeding people. It just makes me so happy. So sometimes I'm like, hey, Landon, my son, like, you want some more food? Or you want this? And he's like, no, Mom. I'm like, I asked you if you want some more food. Let me feed you. Oh, I love that. Do you watch a lot of like, what's your favorite kind of movie? Is it like romantic comedy, like horror, sci-fi?
Oh, I actually documentaries. I really, yeah, I love those. Especially ones that not many that are dealing with, not many situations that most people want to deal with. Like my favorite one, bar none, I could be stuck on an island and watch it over and over, is The Bridge. Have you seen that?
The Bridge. No, I'm gonna write that down. Maybe I should see it.
It's about all the people that commit suicide at the Golden Gate, and it interviews people that have survived. It interviews people, the families of those that have committed suicide, and it's just weird because
Yeah.
they had a camera trained on the Golden Gate for I think a year, and every now and then it cuts to that feed, and you'll just see a splash in the water, and every time you're like, oh my god, that was a person.
That's crazy. I feel like I haven't seen it, but I've seen one or two interviews of someone that said they survived the jump off the bridge and they immediately felt it like regret when they jumped off.
Yeah,
So,
supposedly that's because I took psychology and sociology in college, and my sociology teacher actually wrote a book for her thesis on suicide, and she interviewed a bunch of people, and that's the main thing they reported is once they jumped off, they felt regret, like I shouldn't have done this.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, you never know like what someone's going through and everything. So, I feel like bringing people like a comedy podcast or something to like lighten up the day and just, not being a jerk and also engaging with people, even if it's just online or like Twitter or something, like it can really help someone's mental state. And a lot of people use Twitter as an outlet to like get what they're feeling off their chest and stuff.
Yeah, I've
So
done it. I've been down and out, and I tweeted some, and I got support from it. Sometimes I'm just a lurker, though. Like sometimes I don't know about you, but I'll lurk at all the comments and just be like, "Oh, this drama's juicy."
yeah. Like I'm just sitting here eating popcorn watching it, like what's
Yeah,
next? Come on guys. Or egg 'em on or it's so wild. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. Yeah, and there's and people like reach out in DMs like when you're like having a hard day or you post it and you're like some of the people that messaged me were like, I didn't know that you dealt with that too. Like, are you, okay? It just kind of like normalizes everything, and it's like I'm not alone in this, and people care, and like the most random people care, and it's like you guys are so great.
well, what I think is cool. There's a podcaster. She goes by Local Neighborhood Baby, stressed, depressed, and anxious, and that's pretty much
Yes.
her podcast is about her mental health, and she just puts it on the line. I mean, she just released one because she said she was going to be off Twitter because she was dealing with depression. She was off Twitter for 2 weeks. I hit her up, was just like, hey, just so we're here. If you're like me and you just want to be alone during depression, I get it. And then she
Yeah.
released an episode and actually talked about being close to suicide during those 2 weeks, just really, at the end of it. But then she laughs it off and she has a good time talking about it. So, I mean, I give her huge props
Oh
because
my
she's
gosh.
she doesn't hold back when it comes to that, and that's what we need.
Yeah, the vulnerability is just so hard to be in a place like that, and then and the anxiety. I can't imagine what kind of anxiety she has to be able to put something so personal out like that. That's amazing. So I will. That's on my list to listen to next now.
Yeah, she's good. I like
Yeah,
her.
that's cool. No, I can't imagine doing that. It's hard to talk about. I'm a pretty prideful person, and I'm pretty private. Like I don't let my stuff out there. Let's see. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us. You're the best ever.
You're the best. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll follow you back.
Best friends. Uh, normalize, especially this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it just it's so important to check on your friends and stuff, especially COVID. I recently lost a friend of mine to suicide May 4th. She's in Virginia, and I moved to South Carolina, and I found out, and that just wrecked me. She's a mom of like two kids, and like I have two kids, and we were good friends. We saw each other before I left South Carolina, and then I was just wrecked for 3 straight days, and then I started being able to like get out of bed and like not sob horribly,
Yeah.
and tend to my family. And during that time, like I wasn't super vocal about it, but I let people know like this is what happened. Like my friend's missing, and then she ended up, found, and people started reaching out, and I was like, thank you guys. This is, maybe I do need to talk about it, but it's really hard for me to talk about it. So I really appreciate you reaching out, and then and that's really been great for me. So mental health is incredibly important. I feel like we need more advocates out there.
Yeah, we do. And we need more people just to understand because I deal with the depression and bipolar. I got the one where you're down most of the time because I did a lot of drugs and like alcohol and had to get sober. So, I mean, just a bunch of stuff. But we need more people to understand that when we say like we're depressed, please don't respond with, well, just get over it. Or do something about it. It's like you don't get the chemical imbalance. Like if we
Right?
don't want to feel this way.
Yeah. The one thing that I hate the most about, like, if you tell someone that you're depressed or sad or whatever, we should see a therapist. Like, yeah, I understand that. Thank you. Like, I understand the importance of therapists. I've been in therapy for a very long time, and I think everyone should go to a therapist at least once in their life. For whatever reason, just go. Um, but they don't. They think that's just going to solve your complete problem. It's like, no, there's more to it than that. Like, you need a support system. Sometimes you need medication. Um, and obviously, I know to go to a therapist if something
Yeah.
happens. Like, thank you. I just get so mad.
No, I do too. Yeah, it's like, well, you're telling me how to fix this, but you don't understand what depression is, so don't tell me how to fix it.
Yeah, and everyone's depression is like unique to them as
Mhm.
well. Like we just spoke to Lost Boys and Found Fathers
I listened to
last
that.
night
Yeah.
on the show. Yeah, and they lost one gentleman lost his triplets, and another one lost his son, who was about a couple years old, and the trauma that brought onto them, and the depression, and it's all different. And their podcast is to relate to men out there who have gone through similar loss, but it's also for people that had losses in their lives as well. So um, it's basically the same thing. Be nice to somebody, listen. They don't need you to fix it, they just need you to listen.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, it's sort of like that old adage, like, if someone wants your help, they will ask for it. Don't just provide it.
it's like when a woman gets pregnant, people just like gives you all that advice, and it's like, okay, thanks. Yeah, no. Like, I don't need that. Thank you. But you try to like be nice and let them say their piece, because maybe that's how they help. Like at funerals, sometimes people are like, well, let them bring you food. Let them do that because that's how they cope.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you have to like let them do that, even though it's like, I don't need it. I'm fine. I've got like 13 casseroles in the fridge. But yeah, you do that. Um, yes, mental health is important. I'm a big advocate for it.
I am as well.
um, so what's the biggest challenge you've faced in like the podcasting world, like pre-COVID and during COVID?
Evolving and not being afraid to evolve. That was huge because when we first started out, it was the three of us and we just did random topics all the time. There was no structure. There was no set, guideline. It was, I think our first episode, we talked about the goalie from Mighty Ducks. He got arrested, like in a town real close to us.
Oh no.
That then morphed into Disney films, which then morphed into, so we were just on tangents and there was no clear cohesiveness. And then as time progressed, I was like, I want to stick with this. I want to stick with this. This is what I like. And then I realized that what I like doesn't necessarily mean what everyone else likes. So we sort of worked with it and evolved to what we are now, which is we bring on comedians, we interview them for the first half, and then the last half is I have random topics, they have random topics, and we just sort of riff and crack jokes about it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and it's important to like. I was talking with Rob from Fat Drunk and Stupid podcast, and he said that his show used to be one thing, and then he took a couple months off, and he realized that that's not what he wants to do. What he wants to do is just kind of speak into a mic and have guests on whenever he wants to, but whatever makes him happy is what he's going to talk about it. And if people want to listen, awesome. If they don't, that's cool too. But that's his passion project and he's going to do it. And, he's got a pretty good following like you do as well. So as long as you guys enjoy what you're doing, you're happy with the content. I mean, you don't have to be like, yeah, things can always be better and then you can change things. But as long as you're comfortable putting something out, people are going to listen. I feel like there's not enough podcasts in the world. It's going to sound crazy.
I was about to say, I was like, everyone has a podcast.
Yeah, but there's so many people in the world when you think about it. And like, there's podcasts about like sports and movies, but everyone has their different take on it. And so I feel like there's something for everybody. And there's some things that will probably come out soon that will just be just as awesome. So I super enjoy listening to podcasts.
Yeah, and if anyone's listening and has a podcast or is debating whether or not to keep going with it, one thing you have to get in your head first and foremost is the people you expect to listen will not listen. They'll let you down. So cherish your random downloaders. And what was the other thing I was going to say? It was going to be very poignant. It was going to be ready. Like drop the mic moment. Oh yeah, not every episode is going to be gold. I had a streak of 2 episodes where I was just like, it's not good, and I contemplated like maybe we should just stop. So not every episode is going to be gold, but there are going to be good points. So don't give up. Just keep progressing through it, and eventually you find your niche, and you put out great content on a regular basis.
And someone called it, I think Hugo from Hugo's post called it micro influencers is what he said, because you guys have your like little niche and everything, which is huge. Like a lot of like big companies want those like micro podcasts and micro podcasters because they have a specific crowd and they have like this huge following, where there's like a couple hundred, a couple thousand. And so people are willing to, get paid to be advertised on their shows.
Yeah, which when we got our first advertiser, I was like, we've made it. We're professionals.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of a lot of stand-up comedy clubs in California.
Yeah, I mean Sacramento's kind of barren. I think we have 3. The Bay Area has a bunch though. That's only 2 hours away. They got a grip load. And then of course you got LA scene. There's not really much above Sacramento because it's all just forest. It was.
Oh my God, I was waiting for it. It's horrible. Poor squirrels.
Are you a fan of squirrels?
I am that person that gets excited every time I see a squirrel, like running around or jumping and, oh, look, a squirrel. And I'm like, oh my God, it's cool. And one time when I was living in Virginia, there were like tables with scarves and people selling stuff on there. And I saw one squirrel grab a scarf and climb the tree with a scarf in its mouth. And so there's this beautiful scarf just like hanging down from its mouth in a tree. I'm like, that is the cool. They don't care. They just do what they want. I was attacked by a squirrel once, though. It jumped on my shoulder, and that was terrifying. But I've since gotten over that.
You're like my wife. No joke, we just got something from her parents' house. It's supposedly at like a cat house kind of thing, and it's got steps that go up, and it's got a little lower deck and all that. We got that specifically for the squirrels we feed on our balcony. We have fed squirrels. We have had 2 sets of different babies now from the same female squirrel. She's been feeding them for like 5 years. She was like you, watching a squirrel just damage cloth, because I used to have Tibetan prayer flags on our patio. Yeah. And she would just watch them tear up my flags. I remember I was like, aren't you going to stop them? She's like, no, it's cute. Oh.
There was this thing going around on YouTube about this guy who set up like a Ninja Warrior course for squirrels, and he did all this research about like their favorite peanut or whatever and favorite macadamia nut, and they'd have to race across these like bridges and tunnels, and then the grand finale is like this whole thing full of just Brazil nuts or something.
Yeah, I've seen it where they get so far and then all of a sudden something happens, so then they have to change their tactic. Yeah, we've watched that
several times. I'm telling you, squirrels. They're awesome. Is this a tangent thing you were talking about with it?
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
My right crescent down. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we name our squirrels. There's one I absolutely love, though. I will give a shout out to Charlie. We love him because when he was born, he had mange, had no hair whatsoever.
Oh, no.
Luckily, the hair came back, but half his tail is still not fully grown in. But he is adorable, and we think he's a little special because his mouth isn't positioned where it normally is. So when he eats, he just gets it all over himself. But so adorable.
Oh, man, maybe he fell out of the nest or something. You're going to have to feed him some more.
Yeah, my wife just is showing me the pictures she took of the squirrels eating my Tibetan prayer flags. Thank you.
We're going to have to see this on Twitter, please. I need evidence of these squirrels. Are they like super chunky squirrels, like city squirrels? Those squirrels can get stuff.
We have two. I think the brown ones are tree squirrels.
Ooh.
And then there's gray ones, which I think are ground squirrels. I think.
There's different kinds of squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, there's ones that actually burrow and like live under the ground.
Well, I didn't realize you were a squirrel expert, sir.
I am not. I just, through osmosis, and living with a woman that just researches squirrels nonstop, I became a squirrel expert.
Man, there is something to be said here. I feel like you could do a show about the different kinds of squirrels, or a live feed to your backyard with the flags getting eaten.
No,
I'd watch that. That's like the zoo. That's so cool. Do you have, you said your advice to podcasters is to like kind of get started. Do you have any advice for people that are thinking about starting a podcast but are not sure, or tips that they should follow to get their content out there? That was a loaded question. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I've actually tweeted about this a bunch because for some reason I think I should tweet my advice because I think it actually means something.
Yeah, do it.
It's very narcissistic quality of myself.
No, not the squirrel man.
That's what I'm going to be called from now on. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Change your name, Squirrel Man.
I'll change my avatar to a squirrel from now on.
With glasses.
But one thing I'll say that I tweeted is don't worry about getting the fanciest stuff. Don't worry about getting, high-end quality gear at first. Specifically because you might end up like my friend who spent $5,000 on his setup. He's put out 3 episodes. That's it. He's no longer going to do it. And he has $5,000 worth of stuff just sitting collecting dust.
What?
Yeah. We started out with my total kit for live podcasting was $75. That included the board, all the mics, the cords, the recorder, all that stuff. And the reason you want to do that is because who knows, you may put out 2 episodes and say, this isn't my thing. So why spend all that stuff? The good quality gear can come later. Also, don't think that because you spent $500 on a Shure microphone, your audio is going to be great as is and not require any producing.
That's smart. Yeah. How do you deal with that when you have guests on? Do you ask them what kind of audio that they're going to be bringing to the table, or? Do you just do a whole lot of editing?
Whole lot of editing. We within our board, I'll have them tell me what videos they want me to play, and then I'll just put it up on my phone or something, and that plays through the board, which then just gets played within the podcast itself. So there's really not a lot of post editing. I add music for our Inside the Comic studio and our intro and outro stuff. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. The worst thing is dealing with someone's mic diction live, because you turn up the gain a little bit and they'll be way over here, or then they'll come real close and you're just like,
stop moving.
2 finger lengths. And then if they get far away, I'll just politely, okay, we're good.
Yeah. Come on, guys. So are you mostly an audio podcast or a video as well?
We put out video now that we're doing Zoom. When we go live, I don't know if I want to do a video podcast. First of all, because I'm the only one that buys stuff for the podcast. So I don't know if I want to sink $400 on a streaming camera that we may or may not use. But when we go live, it'll probably just be audio.
Nice.
Which sucks, because some of our elements are video, because we'll reference or play a video that we're all watching. But I think it transitions to audio well. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Nobody's hit me up saying that, that audio was not good. So.
Oh my God, I hope no one does that. But StreamYard is great. You can stream live to like different locations, and then you can download the audio and the video afterwards in case you want to like edit and do whatever you'd like to.
I thought about that, especially because the Zoom quality. Have you guys tried Zoom ever?
We've done Zoom and Google Meet. Google Meet is just terrible.
Yeah, I imagine Google Meet is the same as Zoom, where the audio quality just isn't like this. For me, at least, sounds really crisp, and you're coming through crisp. If we were on Zoom, it sounded like you're kind of coming through on a phone. Well, hey, Chris Revel.
He always calls me his friend, co-producer, and partner, and we're not married. We're just friends.
I would have anticipated. Yeah, I would have been like, "Oh, you guys are married? That's cool."
Right? I was like, "That's my partner." He's so funny. He's my work husband, but yeah, Google Meet is it's awful. We do it for our teams. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's we do have these fancy microphones here that I can't bring over all the way.
I can hear it.
There's a boom mic. But I'm so excited that we're finally able to get you on the show. You said no so many times, and then finally you were. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was like, let me talk to my agent.
Oh my God, you're like, my internet went down. I can't do it tonight. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, okay.
That sucked. Apparently, some truck thought they were lower than they were and just plowed through a bunch of power lines, and I think it was 4,500 people were without Comcast at all.
Oh my gosh. That's a nightmare. Yeah. Oh man, you get some real winners over there. Yeah, that happens a lot here too. That actually happened like 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And so it was a truck too. It backed into like a pole, and like all the power went out, and we had the internet, right? So that's a lot of people. But we want to thank you so much for being part of Let's Chat Live, and finally, third time's a charm. You're right. If someone wants to find your show or you, how do they do that?
So follow me on Twitter. That's mostly what I'm on, at the Big Nick J. The podcast, Twitter and Instagram is at @gagonthis_pod. Facebook is at @gagonthispod. We release episodes podcast-wise on every platform on Mondays. If we're not on a platform that you use, please let us know. We'll add to it. We release YouTube content on Saturdays where you can watch the episode 2 days before it's released as a podcast. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all we're at. We got a Tumblr, but I don't I don't even know the last time I logged on to Tumblr.
I don't know what a Tumblr is. Is it gymnastics?
I think it's like
Um,
I think it's like MySpace now. Like it used to be big, and now people are like, "What?"
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I've never done it. We already have so much work for ourselves. Why are you just gonna keep on adding it? No, thank you.
I like how now Chris is on the chat. He'll be like, "We should get that Tumblr going."
Can't, Chris. You're fired. You're let go, sir. Oh, you don't have to watch. Yeah, you can watch during class or not. This is Bree and Big Nick, the Squirrel Man. You can follow our show on Twitter at Let's Chat Live or go to let'schatpodcast.net, and you can listen to everyone that has already been on the show before, and we're going to put Big Nick on there. So if you want to forget where he is on Twitter or his website, you just go to let'schatpodcast.net and his info will be there so you can find him easier. Thank you everyone for listening and have a great night.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.